Next up is Devin Norell, who, like Batman, made it just in time for this segment. Next up is Devin Norell, who runs the Bigender Survival Trans Fund, which is a fund which sells apparel and uses the sales from apparel to support an array of trans activities that focus on social responsibility and meeting the needs of our community. Devin is also a model, an activist, a writer, and an actor. And I'm going to stop there because there are more things and we don't have that much time. Devin, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Of course. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you, and I can see you. And I'm glad that you were able to make it from whatever latest famous audition you were on to be able to be on tonight. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course. It's so funny that Jayla's on this show as well, because it reminded me, I'm in Deja Smith's house right now, so it reminded me to tell her you should back me cosmetics since you are a makeup artist. So I will let her know, Jayla, if you were still watching.
Absolutely. Hopefully Jayla saw that. So I wanted to just start out with the fact that Bigender, of course, didn't start out like a business. So Jayla's business started out as a commercial business. We wanted to feature a range of type of entrepreneurial models tonight. So Jayla started out, it's a commercial business focused on makeup to make money. Bigender actually is a nonprofit and mutual aid support program that decided to then sell products. So I'm wondering if you can just tell us about Bigender overall, the fund, and then how you decided to get into selling apparel.
Yeah, sure. So Bigender, well, I'll just go on with how it started. I was raising funds for myself for my own top surgery and was having issues with my insurance. I don't want to get into all the details, but basically, top surgery is expensive and continues to rise this year. I had saved about half and needed to figure out how to pay for the other half because my surgery date was rolling up upon me pretty quickly. And a friend approached me. The friend ran a party called Work These Pecs, and it was very transmasculine centered. But the point of the party was that it functioned as a fundraiser, and within one night, they would raise money for one particular person's top surgery. And I ended up raising through that party the other half of the funds that I needed. And so when I finally had my surgery, recovered, came back to, I mean, obviously top surgery is not one of the worst surgeries that you can have when you're medically transitioning. But when I finally came to and felt comfortable in my body, I should say, I wanted to give back. I wanted to pay it forward. And so I asked the previous owner, Jason, how can I become involved? We had planned to throw more parties. It didn't end up being that. And so from there, it kind of evolved into other things, right? So that's where the t-shirt line came from. We aren't throwing as many parties. What other things and other ways can we utilize to raise funds for people who need money for their top surgeries? And then their rent or their medicines, whether it be testosterone, estrogen, or HIV medicine, for food, whatever it is that a trans person might be in need of, we were raising money for them. And so we needed to find another way outside of just a party that we can raise funds year round. And that's where the t-shirt line came out of. I chose t-shirts because everyone, a lot of people, most people wear t-shirts in graphic t-shirts and ones with statements. It's an easy shirt that you can throw on and say out loud, and I'm proud of who I am. But also it's a statement. I mean, fashion makes as much of a political statement as, say, raising a fist at the Olympics in the 70s, right? Black power, trans is beautiful. This is my political statement. And so it encompasses all of these things while also raising funds for other trans people in need. And then the other part of that is the multiple, I should say, this Bigender Survival Fund, as well as Black Trans Rent Relief, that are both mutual aids in which funds are raised without the selling of t-shirts or other items.
Yeah. So the t-shirts that you sell come in all shapes. Some are short, some are long, some are tank tops, some are they're all different, and they have Bigender on them, and also trans is beautiful. And I'm wondering, did you decide, do you design the t-shirts yourself? And how did you decide to do that? I mean, I joked with you once. I was like, oh, why didn't you sell mugs? And you were like, well, I almost thought about selling mugs, but I opted on t-shirts. So do you design them, and how did you decide to sell t-shirts?
Yes, so I designed both Trans is Beautiful and By Gender. Obviously, Laverne Cox was the person that essentially coined Trans is Beautiful, and um, we've all taken it and have run with it clearly. And it's
Exactly.
something that I absolutely live by. And you know, it's a very uplifting message. But to answer your question, um, it kind of goes along the lines of something that I mentioned earlier, in that is something that you can wear and some people would see outwardly, and you can make a statement. I can't bring my mug outside. I mean, I love my mug. I drink tea every day. It is one of my favorite things to do. I have multiple glasses of tea, but I think that part of wearing this shirt is being trans out loud and being proud of who you are and unabashedly forward about your experiences and where you came from and how that has made you the person you are today. And so that's why I went forward with the t-shirts. And also you can sell more t-shirts and raise more money through the sales of t-shirts as opposed to mugs. And so if I'm raising more money, that's more people that I can fund through Trans is Beautiful and By Gender.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you've mentioned before that not only trans people buy your apparel, right? That people who want to be supportive of trans people buy it. If they want to support the fund, they buy it, or they like the design. And that it starts conversations for them on the street. So people will ask them if they are trans or not. And so I mean, what you're doing and designing, because it does have this pro-social aspect to it, a lot of people buy it and are engaged in it who are not trans, right?
Right, because this whole idea of like you're not gonna know if a person is trans or not. We all have this assumption that we know what a trans person will look like, but honestly, we don't. I don't look like you don't look like me, and I obviously don't look like any other trans person. And how can you tell that I'm trans? You know, like you're not going to know unless I actually say it. And in most cases, people just assume that if you look different or what they expect you to look like as trans, that you must be trans, right? And then come to find out that this person might not identify as trans, or maybe just dresses up, for instance, in drag, right? And not that drag doesn't fall under the trans umbrella, but these people might not identify as trans, and that's important. But the other thing is that if you have your allies out there wearing this shirt and having these conversations, then they're doing the labor for you, right? Because I'm sure we're all tired of saying, okay, this is what I'm trans, this is what trans is. It's a story, it's a story in a bio that we have to tell over and over and over. I mean, it's basically us coming out multiple times, as we will continue to do probably until the day that we die. And it gets tiring. So it's great to have an ally out there to say, I'm not trans, but trans people are this and trans people are that. And we need to respect trans people and respect trans rights and treat trans people like people, because that's just what they are. And so I do encourage cis people to buy the shirt for that reason. I don't believe it's appropriating, but I also encourage them. And what happens pretty often is that cis people won't buy the shirt for their trans friends, and that happens more often than cis people buying it for themselves. But they do buy it. They do buy it to wear it out in the street and say, you know, hey, I'm not trans, but let's have this conversation. And it's great that there probably are parts of the world, and say I've sent shirts out to the Philippines and to Thailand, and there probably are people in parts of the world having these conversations that I don't know about, but at least it's happening.
Wow. Wow. This is just a reminder to send your questions in or comments for Devin, questions or comments for Devin in our last few remaining minutes with Devin. One of the things I wanted to ask you about more broadly is that you've actually written a lot and focused on trans entrepreneurship for a while. And I'm wondering if you can just talk for our audience, for people who may not be familiar with why entrepreneurship, why business ownership is so important for trans people overall. What makes it vital to our community?
Well, I think the most important thing that any of us need is equity, and it's something that we don't really have, but that what we're slowly building. And that's what we can build through businesses and by supporting one another or encouraging our allies to support us. And the reason why I write about this a lot is because the places where these articles are being placed, a lot of eyes see this. So if I'm saying here are, I think the article I wrote last year was about maybe 20 businesses. These are 20 trans businesses that people did not know about. And now these are 20 trans businesses that are going to get a lot of support. I recall JLo was actually, Batman Cosmetics was actually on that list, as well as another t-shirt line that is slipping my mind, of course. But I remember speaking to some of these people afterwards and hearing from them, oh my God, I got so much business from just that one article. And I said to them, this is just the first of many, because if I have to add you to another article 2 years later, I will. But the point of doing that is you're gaining more customers, you're gaining more equity, and that's a better way for us to support one another after the fact. If we have more financial gain, more equity, we don't need to go to anybody else and say, hey, I need help with rent, or I need help with this. We can just go to one another. We can buy our own land. We can buy our own houses. And just with the money that we have created on our own through our businesses. But if people are not there to support, our businesses go nowhere. We need a stake just as much as any other person does. And as I'm saying this, I am remembering in my head too that the Google searches for SEO are so anti-Black, so anti-trans, and always prioritize white cis people over any other business. And so we need to reverse that. And part of that is writing, honestly. And so that's why I'm constantly talking about, here's shop trans, shop Black. This creates the equity that we need. And the thing is, I don't really know if any other people outside of trans people are writing these articles. And that's the other reason why this is important, right? It's like, not only do we need these businesses to exist, but we need those people to write it. And oftentimes, the person that's writing that article is also trans. And it's unfortunate that we have people that call themselves our allies, but think that allyship is, for instance, maybe just putting a Black square on Instagram and nothing else. Honestly, writing an entire article does a lot more than saying, hey, here's a Black square, like, I support you. Go put your money where your mouth is. Support the trans people, because you don't know how you might be helping this person's life and or the people that they're supporting. We need equity. It is important. It's important that we have equity and something to claim as our own so that we can support one another.
That's right. Well, Della Michelle just is giving you big hand claps from your returning the snaps out in the internet. And lastly, I have kind of a practical question. So we're going to go from that. So if people order from By Gender today or tomorrow, will they be able to get the gifts by Christmas? Is that possible?
I am literally sending out everything tomorrow. So I'm going to say yes, but it's up to USPS, and we all know what a hot mess they are right now. But everything that is bought at least by 1 p.m. tomorrow, even by 5 p.m. tomorrow, is going to the post office. Sorry, let me correct that. By 4 p.m. tomorrow, because that gives me a 1 hour window to get to and make sure, because if I'm in the post office, which by the way closes at 5:30, but if I hand over these packages at 5, that they're closed for the day. In terms of sending things, I learned the hard way that they don't send things after 5. If you hand it to them after 5, they postage that thing for the next day. And so I'm not trying to risk it. I mean, you can put an order on Saturday. I'll still send it out on Saturday, but put your orders in by 4 p.m. the latest tomorrow. And I will get to the post office, which is only 200 feet away from me, by the way, and make sure that it's sent out. What happens from there, I don't know. Everything is a mess right now. I mean, considering what has been going on for this past year and the way that the Trump administration has completely undermined the USPS, which, delivers rain, snow, or sunshine. They have completely messed it up, but I am fingers crossed that it will get to you at least by, I think 23rd is Wednesday, at least by Wednesday. If you live in LA, it might take it would definitely get there, I think, by Wednesday. However, if you live Midwest or on the West Coast, it should get there by Monday or Tuesday. So please, if you would like to order something, go run there now, put your order in, and it will go out tomorrow.
So, all right. So that means you heard it, everybody. You have basically till 1 o'clock tomorrow to get in your orders. If you are,
Cool.
if you,
I'll push it to
four.
4.
Oh, four. Okay, four tomorrow to get in all of your orders. So it's last minute, so you ought to have a really limited list of who it is anyway. And so you ought to be able to go on. Like, it shouldn't take you from about now and then to order your stuff. So that's that. Well, Devin, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate all of your work and all of the ways that we specified in the intro. Thank you so much for the Bi Gender Trans Survival Fund, and also for the Bi Gender Apparel line, and for all that you do. And thank you so much for coming on, because you need to be putting t-shirts in boxes. So
Well, I'm not going to be doing that just yet, because I'm at Deja's about to film for them for an article about trans makeup artists and trans hairstylists. You know, again, supporting businesses and letting other people know about trans businesses. But thank you so much for having me on the show, and for also for all the other guests. And thank everyone else that is watching, and thank you for your support. And again, I will try to get those orders out by 4 p.m. We have 4 p.m. tomorrow, until tomorrow on Friday.
4 p.m. tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time, for all you West Coast people. That's 1 o'clock your time. That was Devin Norell, who runs the Bi Gender Trans Survival Fund and the Bi Gender Apparel line. You are watching Lives at Stake.